I'd like to read you a story called The Tale of a Railroad Tie. About a week ago, we were in downtown Fort Pierce, and I found a railroad tie. The railroad had come through in Fort Pierce, Florida in the early 1920s, and they fastened the track to the wooden crossbars with ties just like this. And I was looking at this and I was thinking about one of my very best friends who had passed away from the police department in 2005. And he was like a tie, something that holds the track, civilization, to the members of time. And I think that this analogy is about Jim, my partner, Jim Ray, but it applies to many people, people that are serving God, holding on, like this railroad tie would be fastened through the rail into the wood crossbeams to secure that track so that the train could stay on course. So a lot of us are just like this railroad tie. So I hope you enjoy this story called The Tale of a Railroad Tie. It's okay to be in the has-been if you have been. For now, I'm part of history, measuring my life not in terms of what I'll attempt to do, but rather what I've accomplished for others. Now once, I was a shiny, case-hardened steel spike, driven by a sledgehammer that was gripped by strong, calloused hands deep into the hard, oily flesh of a new wooden railroad tie. My mission in life was to secure the railroad track to its moorings, ensuring the safe passage of the heavy trains that skated along the rail above the beautiful Fraser Canyon in mountainous British Columbia, Canada. Over 1,500 feet below lay the notorious Hell's Gate Gorge, whose treacherous rapids had claimed so many lives of earlier brave travelers. The bridge I protected was narrow, steep, and curving, which placed enormous pressure on my iron tooth that had to bite hard even to hold onto the track in the wooden crossbeam, and whenever that iron horse would thunder across the chasm. And for over a century, I was there. I was there when the western frontier opened up from an ancient land of pioneers through the modern industrial age and into a tourist destination that promised a skier's vacation paradise. And over the years, thousands of trains of all descriptions with passengers, fuel, timber, and containers and merchandise lumbered across my tresses while I held on. I held on and held on so that no car, no load, no life would be lost to the catastrophic fall down the canyon's mouth, to the teeth and dark waters far below. And the sun beat down on my wood, sucking the life juices from the members, and despite the black pitch, insects started to burrow through the grains of the wood to seek shelter from the elements. Rain soaked me, and then snow and ice assaulted me, and never-ending cycles of freezing, melting, heaving and contracting, while the trains ever rumbled and roared, shook my tenacious hold on the track. My wood started to soften, crack, and split, while the pylon's penetration began to slip as the hole widened due to the constant aggressive vibrations of the stress I was carrying. Sometimes I pondered if the passengers that filled the bellies of such mechanical beasts were ever aware of the sacrifices I was making to fulfill my arduous duty. But such reflections, I reasoned, were unwise and unhelpful, as my mission was fulfilled in preventing accidents, not in gaining applause or adulation. But the trains kept rolling year after year, creating pressure without relief on my straining member until it finally happened. One sad day, the rail I was fastening lifted up ever so slightly as an overloaded steel beast charged across the bridge, its ponderous mass turning and twisting and decelerating against my single steel finger, which tried in vain to snag its wooden sheath. Then, as the march of locomotives and their 2-mile-long parade of railroad cars continued to assault me, my grip became so weak that without volition I allowed the track to clank and clatter, creating dangerous jitters and jolts. My mission had been accomplished. My service was complete. Under my watch, I granted safe passage to every single train that careened across and down that trestle steep grade across my steel rail, and I had not permitted a single railroad car to slide over the rocky precipice to gravitational destruction. To serve and protect, duty with distinction, a career completed with honor. And there was part of me that was relieved and glad when the railroad crew came that day to extract my now tarnished, pitted, and corroded steel spike from the useless, rotting wooden casings that had been my life since my molten metal had been poured into the mold at the foundry. They replaced the crossbeam and resecured the infinite track by mechanically driving another shiny nail into the solid new wood. And then I was carefully hand-placed into a label box for transport back to the foundry for recycling and reassignment. To my amazement, I realized that the value of my elemental essence is conserved. Nothing has ever been lost. My life was not over, but only beginning again for other acts of metallic service. And I commit the story in loving dedication to my lifelong friend and loyal partner from the Toronto Police Force, Constable James Ray, who was promoted by God to glory on May 2nd, 2005. And I hope that you apply the story to your own life. For many of you have been service of humanity, in Christian service, social services, and you've been serving. And there's always a cost to service, but God sees, and it is not wasted. And one day, he's going to take you to heaven and reconstitute you. Have hope from this little story. God bless you.